Welcome to stage. I don't. We had some technical difficulties starting off the day. I don't know exactly what was going on there. But let's get there. I don't know where our host is or our guest is, so we're gonna start shortly here. But so soon we will have on maximizing your wide receiver play. And we're going to talk about it. He's Puka Nacua's um, wide receiver coach, Ross Appo, and he works with a bunch of top tier wide receivers out in Utah. And we're going to really discuss wide receiver play um, and talk really in depth about that. So as soon as he comes on, he played at BYU. Was way back in the day at our NUC events, was a overall MVP, was a superstar. Wanted to play at BYU, was a freshman All-American there. Had an excellent career. Now is working with wide receivers in the Utah area, really working with them on becoming the best receivers they can be. And he's got a litany of top players. And we'll have him on shortly. Before we do that, make sure you check out myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo. Recruiting today is much tougher than ever with the transfer portal, with high school athletes. If you were an FBS athlete, a lot of the guys are now pushed down a level, unless you're the top tier guy, top 500 player in the country. The other 2000 Division I athletes have been pushed down because half the athletes are now transfer portal athletes that are in the recruiting process, and college coaches are recruiting transfer athletes more than ever. And also, if you're a transfer athlete, we have a program for you guys as well. That's myfootballcamps.com/transfer. But this is an opportunity for you to get your name out there. Every one of the players that have come through our program have gone on to play elite level college football, and almost all of them were scholarship athletes. So it's an important program. I do it with Mike Farrell. It's a program that is an elite program that there's nothing like it. Go to myfootballcamps.com/D1 promo. I'll tell you before we get Coach on today, we're going to really discuss and we're going to go in depth how you can become a better player. So we're going to talk about some things that you're going to be able to do as a wide receiver to really become a better player, and to really become an elite player, and really the mechanics of it, because wide receiver play is so important, and it's important to really have the mechanics, the training, and the development in order to be an elite wide receiver. And we're going to talk that today with Ross. We should have him on shortly here. I think he's getting himself on here now. I just don't see him appear. Once I see him appear, we will bring him on. It's a great opportunity to really discuss football, the recruiting process, and all of that stuff as well. So we look forward to that opportunity. It is going to be. Let me see if he's not Ross.
Yep.
Oh, well, where's your video?
What in the heck? Where is my video? Let me see. I should be good at this stuff. This is crazy. But I'm on my wife's laptop here. Let me see. That is odd. So
Let's turn the other way. It looks like your video is focusing on something that's like a wall or something.
it's definitely facing me because I have my thumb on it. No, I don't. This is let me see. Yeah, that was weird. It was just showing my video. Now it's not.
I'll remove you and let you figure it out, and I'll keep going and bring you back.
Okay.
So like I was talking, we're gonna go through, and hopefully we get that video worked out there, so we could talk with them. But it is the recruiting game has changed dramatically over the last couple of years, maybe even the last year more than anything else. and it's important to really understand all the things that go into it. And the development side is one of the biggest aspects of it. I think that if you go and don't developing your skill set at a high level is now a given. The way that college coaches are looking for players now, they're looking for elite players that are ready to go immediately. So if you're a high school player and you're coming out and you haven't developed your skills where you can actually go on the field and have an opportunity to play right away, you're putting yourself behind the eight ball, because then you're a development project, and development projects are not getting recruited the same way that they once were. Maybe offensive linemen, obviously, depending on the size that they have, that possibly could be the case. But in the skill positions, you're expected, no matter what level you end up going in, to have the opportunity to contribute. And not that they won't develop you over those years, but what is going to happen is guys are going to have the opportunity to move up. So whatever level they end up starting at, if they do well, they're going to move up or look to move up, unless they're at a place where they really know they want to be at it. And that's a unique situation that's changed, and that's all because of the transfer portal. And across the country, look, you saw Coach Halfley pretty open about one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why he was quick to jump to the defense coordinator job with the Green Bay Packers was the state of college football as a whole. And that's become a state that really demands coaches' time in a way that has never been before. So not only do you have staff, I mean, you're really the football aspect of being a head coach. It's more like being a high level corporate CEO, because the higher the level, the more moving parts there are. And the coaching aspect applies when the time period that you're on the field, but the other 22 hours out of the day has to do with recruiting, both the players you currently have and the players that you're looking to get, evaluating existing players, incoming players, evaluating players that you're recruiting, and making sure you balance between transfer portal and high school recruits what the actual fits are and the fits that those guys present, because that's a big deal. All right, let's cancel this out here. We'll kick him from studio, and then we'll bring him on here. Hey, there we go.
Nice. There we go. Sorry about that. Now
So
I'm just on my phone. I didn't want to have to deal with the laptop and all that stuff. So
oh yeah. That's well, I'm glad it worked out. Like I introed, Mile High Receiver Group, run by Ross Appo, and it's I introed you a little bit back, but you played at BYU. You
right.
Way back in the day, and I mentioned this, you were one of our overall MVPs back in the day. Although
Yeah.
you look really young. So guys were saying he's a little older than he looks, but he looks young. He still looks like he can go out there and play. And you were star then. You went to BYU. You're freshman All American. You had a nice career as a college player, and post college, transitioning to really working receivers coach. And the reason why, obviously, we have the, most famously now, obviously,
Oh
you
man.
you work with Puka Nacua, which I'm sure has skyrocketed people's awareness of you as a receivers coach. But you were already, I say that, but at the same time, I'm saying that last year when you did our Utah event, you already had a plethora of star receivers in that Utah area. Tell me about how. Well, tell everybody kind of your career as a player and how you got into coaching receivers. And I should have my co-host on in a couple seconds here.
Yeah. So like you said, I was I well, growing up, I wasn't really that good. I'd probably say from like the ages from the grades like fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh was like kind of terrible for me. And one day, and I was a big basketball player. And so, one day I went to my dad and I'm just like, if this doesn't get better, like, I just want to quit and play basketball and baseball. And so, he helped me find some trainers, guys that, helped me get better at my position. And, you know, I responded to that really well. And it was like, it was a game changer for me. I remember after like my first wide receiver session, I wanted to go back and do it again. Um, and I figured out like, man, I like to learn like new things, and I started getting better and I started beating guys. And then I ended up at your camp that you had, and then I went there and was just dominating. And then, that was like the first time that I was like actually like coaching other guys out on the field. And I don't know if it was, from that point, but I went on to high school. My receivers, or I guess I didn't really have a receivers coach. Our head coach just told me, hey, work with the receivers. So I was already coaching receivers in high school at the time. And so I ended up being a high school All-American. And then, I went to BYU, and, while I was at BYU, I knew I wanted to get like into coaching of some sort. Whether it was coaching, training, whatever it was, I just wanted to work with guys and help them get better at the position. And that's kind of how I came to doing what I'm doing now.
That's amazing. And then what you're doing on social media, the thing that I think is different too, like when you post, so obviously your coaching is fantastic. But what you do on social media that I think is different is you focus on what they're doing technique wise and development, showing that and showing, why it's good basically. Whereas everybody's always trying to show the wow and like, this is my drill where I ran crazy. I went through 5,050 million cones, and then I came out and caught a ball,
Right.
So, and I right away, I think I mentioned that to you pretty early on, that I really liked how you were approaching it. And I'm sure when it comes to like long-term development of clients, like your clients really appreciate the fact that you focus on those areas, because what basically ends up happening is they understand why they're doing certain things. It's not just trying to run through drills as fast as they can. They start to really development. Explain kind of your approach to development from a training standpoint.
Yeah. So exactly what you said. And we're kind of seeing it now. I've been watching the Reese's Bowl, the Senior Bowl, and it's like all of these like Instagram release, like the stuff doesn't work, and it makes me so mad when I see these things, and it's just like it gets the clicks, it gets the likes, but it's like, when will you actually use it in a game? It's like, there's a few releases, right? You might use it once in a game, right?
Maybe
in a goal line situation, and it's not even an open field, and you'll see trainers that will just do it religiously. And I'm like, what about the top end of the route? What about like, mid route, when a guy's on your hip, when you're hip to hip, like what do you
phases?
do? Yeah. And so, that those guys have made my job a lot easier because they're kind of exposing themselves. And so, when it comes to development, I understand like the pivotal parts of route running, and it's like, if they're in press, we gotta get off the line, and you can't take forever to get off the line. And I always tell my guys, like, keep in mind the quarterback, right? He has like 4 big 300-pound guys running at him, right?
Trying to kill him.
Right, and he might have another guy coming off the edge, right? There might be a blitz,
right?
If somebody doesn't pick it up, you have to be ready to go. And if you're doing all these releases and he gets killed, you're not getting the ball. Like he's not going to talk to you, and it's over for you. You're done.
You're causing yourself some locker room issues right there.
Right. And then, the next part is like, once we get off the ball, and we're working it to the route, it's like, what are you going to do if you have an in route, a dig route, and he's playing on your inside hip? And a lot of guys, they get stuck at the top where they're just like, hand fighting and doing this, and they finally get over, and especially in one-on-ones, it makes me so mad because they'll take about 10 minutes and then they'll get over, they'll get the catch, and then they'll celebrate.
Right.
Like, look, the quarterback was already, he sacked or he took off. We were already 3 plays, gone from here.
Yep.
So, I teach that. And then obviously the next step is going to be the top end of the route. If they're sitting at a certain depth where you need to break, how do we get open in that spot? And so with me in development, I like to teach the technique, but I kind of do it a little bit different than everybody else. I put the guys in bad situations and I teach them how to get out of bad situations, because you're going to be in bad situations all the time.
That's what majority of the game is, right?
Right.
I mean, you're never, and it's like, it's kind of interesting, Coach. And look, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this. Just like, from your whole viewpoint on the entire thing, like, you got to look at it like and understand, like, guys, when I draw a route on paper, yeah, it's a straight line, but you're never getting that in a game situation. Majority of the time, it's going to be these, negative positions that you're in. How do we get out of that now? Because look, I know all of you can run a route this way and do all that. It's easy when you're running routes on air and all that other kind of stuff. But when you put somebody in front of you and now they're inside leverage, they're head up, they're outside leverage, this is the release, and then this is the midpoint. He's on the inside, he's middle, he's here. You're trying to get here. That stuff is more conducive to game situations.
Right. Yeah. And even last night I was working with a high school squad, and we were running just on air, and I was just telling them, okay, give me 10-yard out. And we added in a release, and then I had one of the teammates stand about 3 yards, and then he'd stick his arm out, and then another guy at about 9 yards. And they were all stuttering, trying to put their foot down at 10. And I'm like, guys, look, I understand, right? On paper, there's a line, and then it goes. But it's like, if you get hung up at the line of scrimmage, it's like, now we don't have that much time at the top end of the route. Or if you have a free release, but you get hung up at the top end of your route, you have a little bit of time to work. So you can kind of trade times there, if that makes sense. And then I was also like, if it's a 10-yard out and you put your foot down at 9, just roll it to 10. Your quarterback's going to throw it to a spot, and you're just going to go meet the ball. Or if you happen to take an extra step and you break at 11, then let's roll back down to 10 and meet the ball. You just can't be at like 7 yards, cutting to 10, or 13 yards trying to bring it back down. As long as you're somewhere around there, and then all of a sudden everybody's just kind of moving a lot more smooth, a lot more confidence. There's not a whole bunch of breaking down and stuttering and trying to be exact. And I feel like those are, in developments, those are the points that are being missed the most. And we're just like, trainers are just like looking at these fancy things that, that the guys like to see, the guys like to do. And I tell guys all the time, and I post this on my story, it's like, if you want clicks, if you want likes, don't come to me, because I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to teach you guys how to play the game the right way. I'm going to help you guys get out of bad positions. I'm going to help you guys get into good positions, and I'm going to help you guys win. And then ultimately help you guys get to the next level, whatever level it is that you want to get to, help you guys get there. And that's how I've kind of developed guys. And so I've had guys from, like, for example, like I've had Puka from 9th grade up until now. I have guys that I've started in 4th grade, right now they're sophomores. And so it's like, once you start with me, you can't really stop, because like as the years go on, I learn more from guys that would come back from like college or NFL, and they'll tell me certain things they saw. I work with a lot of DB coaches. They tell me techniques that they do. They keep me updated on things that they do. So the game is changing, and as a trainer, you have to adapt with it. And I think that's where a lot of my value comes from, is I'm always like kind of changing the game. So maybe one thing we're doing this year, maybe we can't do it against this type of look, so we got to do it this way. And I think that's the most valuable thing when you're developing a guy.
What was like Puka's development like? So you had him from ninth grade, right, to where he is. He was drafted, so like but he wasn't drafted high level, and for him to do what he did in this first year was unbelievable, and what he was able to, the level of performance that he had, and his continued development, right? So you could argue that from the time he was in ninth grade till now, this has been a player that's really had continued improvement and continued development. Um, and made the big difference because obviously being opposite
Cooper Cup.
Cooper
Cup, yeah, being opposite Cooper Cup, that made a huge difference in how they were able to perform as a team. Explain what you've seen over the years in his development from the time he came to as a young guy to now.
So when we first started, and I have a video of it, he was like, one thing he always did well, even when he was like goofy and lanky and all over the place. And one thing he always did well was he attacked the ball with his hands, and he was natural with his hands, and that tells me a lot of the guy. If you're able, if you just tell a guy, hey, run across the field, and you just throw a bullet, no matter where it is, and you see it like, go behind him below the waist, and he just flips his hands, turns his body, right? You're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit different, right? Let's do it again. You throw it, and it gets on him right now, but it's a high ball, and you just see, boom, hands go up and go get it and bring it in. Like, I know what type of player I'm dealing with at this point. So now it's like the body control, the aggressiveness, the hands, the catching. We don't even have to worry about that. Like, I already know that's going to happen. So now let's just get your body moving the right way. Like a receiver, like an elite receiver would. Let's tighten up your releases. Let's work on the top end of your route. And so that's kind of that's exactly how it was for Puka. He was always a really good hands catcher, always aggressive with the hands. It was just he just needed to work on some body control. And now it's like when you see him play, that's all every step he takes, there's a purpose behind the step.
Right.
Every time he gives a jab and that guy moves, it's like Puka's gone. And the 40 he ran was like a 4.6 something.
Right.
Given he was hurt. And so, when I talked to one of the Rams guys, he was like, yeah, we understand he's not gonna, separate at the top. And I'm like, but he is.
You're like, yeah. You're looking at a guy, he does all the other intangibles. Like, he's hurt right now, dude. Like, wait till he gets healthy. And now that thing that's a negative in your book is gonna, you know what I mean? Look, he's also benefited from Cooper being hurt a little bit, right? And then, but you can see there's clips of, Sean McVay saying, like, I want this guy,
Yeah. And so when I was talking to that scout, he worked closely with Sean McVay, and he was just like reaching out to the closest people, and I told him that, and he was like, yeah, we understand he's not going to get the top end separation. I said he will. I've been working with this guy. I know what he can do. And sure enough, right, we've seen it this season. He's breaking off the top end of his route. There's even catches, his crossers where he catches it and just runs away from the defense. I think he registered like 21 something miles an hour, maybe closer to 22. I know it was like the 5th fastest out of all receivers in the NFL, which is pretty fast.
Fine.
So
that means he's got top. See, there's a little difference too between, and sometimes I was an agent for 6 years in the NFL, and I think sometimes even the scouts sometimes miss the difference between there's 3 things. There's quickness, like guy who can, like a slot guy who really can get quick separation. There's acceleration, and then there's top end speed. And there's the few guys like Tyreek that has all 3, right? All 3. But most NFL players that are successful have 2 of the 3. 2 of the 3. They all have to be quick enough. Everybody understands they have to be quick enough, but they either have to have quickness and acceleration and top end speed. Okay. quickness, and then then they're able to go in another gear to be to have the top end speed. So they need two of the three in my opinion, in order to be an NFL player. And if you have all three, which is obviously the holy grail, right, then you have a chance to be exceptional. And what Puka has shown, which people probably didn't realize, is that he's showing all three areas of. They probably thought he was two of the three, which is an NFL player if you're top end the two of the three. But he's showing three of the three, which means you have the opportunity to be literally an elite player, right?
Right.
And what I think you brought up a really, really important point that I think a lot of people who play the wide receiver position, and you know, obviously I've been to a million camps and I see it over the years, but it's become more of an issue in the recent years, is body control over excessive movement, right? So being able to use your body, leaning, moving in a direction, up or down, you know, using your body versus excessive movement is what gets you open. The excessive movement, if I am excessive to the right, a good DB knows that he's going to have to come back to the middle at some point.
Right.
Don't move.
Right.
And this is what like the fancy coaches who are like with all don't realize, like, all this excessive movement. Great DBs. I'm not talking like, yeah, you might get away with some of it in high school, right? But if you want to play in college coaches know this, NFL coaches know this, that this excessive movement, if you're not going anywhere vertically or laterally immediately towards to getting open, all that means is you're going to come right back. So,
Right.
and a DB doesn't have to move. Like, I see coaches telling let him do whatever he wants to do. You don't got to move, because he's come right back to that spot anyway to go where he's got to go, right?
Exactly.
So talk about how body control is such an important thing as a receiver.
Yeah. So man, you hit it right on the head. Real quick with the three different speeds, right? That you said, it is exactly it is with what he has now with the body control. The reason I focus on body control so much is because, like I told you when we started, I suck so bad. It was like, what can we do to get long armed Ross, long leg Ross to move, right? If I'm not going to run a 4-3 today or 4-4 today, what can we do to get him to be an effective receiver? And it was for me to control my body. So it's like, I can't step too far outside of my frame. I do have to sink my hips. I do have to keep my elbows in when I'm doing certain cuts. You can't go out and try to bring them back in, because that's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
During development with Puka from high school, through college, it was like we never veered off from body control. Matter of fact, it was like it just got better and better and better. Like I said, in the off season, I would get to work with my DB coach, and he would just tell me, this is what we look for. This is some of the things we do. And so it's like, okay, how do we counter that? And how do we counter that, and how do we counter it quickly? And it's like, does my foot need to be, right underneath my pad, or can we move the foot out just a little bit more and give a little bit more body to produce more power, and also to show a little bit more like, lean? And it's like things like that. It's just the small tweaks like that make the biggest difference in separation. And so that's what got better with body control. And then it's like, there are several games where announcers were just like, look at how he just takes one step and he's already here. And it's just, he knows exactly how much power to put on that foot. He knows how much body to give to get the DB to kind of, kick step or slide over. And he's countering right now. And it's like, all that was is one step. He didn't have to do a whole bunch of choppy something. It was just one step, but it was a powerful step for Puka. It was a good, strong move up top, like good shoulders, right? A good head fake, enough for the guy across from him to see it, identify it, and say, I have to step over and cut him off, or he's going to take off. And and I always tell the guys this, right? We got to remember our jobs as receivers is we set the tone. We move first, and then the defender goes second.
Right.
And so as we move and we jab, we know we're going to stop at some point. The defender doesn't. And so as I put my foot down to stop, he's still kind of moving. And then like a split second later, it registers. And I tell them, like, how much time do you have? And guys are like, oh, you got about 1 second. And I'm like, no, you got like 0.2 seconds. Yeah, before he, you know, replaces his feet and gets back. And so body control, that's what that does, is like that 0.2 seconds that you give us is like, we're going to take it and run with it. And it's like, see you later from there. And then now, boom, accelerate up the field. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. It's something that, like, one of the things that you see with like high school kids, they don't almost all of them don't understand about stacking a receiver, right? When you beat a guy off the line, the ability to stack them, you're actually open immediately, right? As soon as you stack them, you're immediately open, right? So now a quarterback can throw you the ball wherever he wants to throw you the ball because you're in position to win now. And you'll say it to them, and then they might do it one time, and then they veer off to the side again, and they veer off to the side again, and they veer off to the side, and like, no, you have to be on top of him, because once you're on top of him, he's done, right? Now he has to sprint, and if you turn, he's going to go through you for interference, right? So all those things that you see like elite level NFL, people are like, how come the DB doesn't stop, you know, when a ball's up like a jump ball and he interferes? Because he's already been stacked. Once he's been stacked, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. He can't move to a side, because if he moves to either side, he immediately gives the guy an opening. He has to run straight to catch up. So that's the important thing on stacking. And now they're in complete chase mode, right? So it's so interesting to hear you kind of explain that, you know, how that all works. And I think that those are like, receiver to me and tight end, I guess, also, right, has become an art form as much as anything else, like understanding the techniques and then the art of movement, of being able to move your body. And you said it subtly, right? Whatever way you have to be able to do it, because you're also using deceptiveness to get yourself open. You want him to think you might be doing something else subtly, and you're going to do something, hopefully the opposite, right? So, and there's multiple directions you can go. If you're going vertically, you could run a comeback route, you could run a curl route, you could run a dig, you could run a post, you could run a corner, right? So the DB is trying to quickly react to where you're going, and you're in control. And that's why I think the subtle movement is so important versus the excessive movement, because if you move excessively, the DB is in control. And once you let the DB get in control, you're in trouble. And then you don't even understand why the QB doesn't give you the ball, or why you're not open. And like, I made this move. I made this sick move. Well, the DB didn't move, you know? You can make the greatest move you want. Like, sometimes it's better if you just go directly where you want to go versus making all these moves.
Right. And I think it was
the art of DB receiver. Talk about that art form. Sorry, go ahead, Derek.
No, I was saying, I think it's one of the first things that I talk about, you know, when we're coaching up our receivers, or even DBs, is like, look, like, understand something. Like, the offense always has the advantage. You know, you're going forward, and you know, like, where I'm going, at what point I need to make a move. You have all that information. So you're on that path already. A DB is reacting to what you do, right? So they're already, like you said, they're behind in the processing from the jump. You already have the advantage. So now just continue and keep that advantage the entire way, right? Because you know, and like you said, a lot of the DB coaches, you know, with all these guys that want to make all these moves going lateral, it's like, that's great, like, for releases, but you've gone nowhere. You've gone nowhere up the field. You haven't chewed up his cushion, and now literally DB play is patience. Let me wait for you to do it, and now if you don't do it on that tight, like, you know, perfect pat, I already got you. So the receiver has the advantage from the jump. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was an incredible point that you made, that a lot of these young guys, they just don't really understand that.
Yeah. And you know, it's just funny because I talked a lot about this last night. So I had guys from going into freshman year all the way up through varsity. And I think a couple of the guys, they're going to be D1 prospects. And even those guys, they weren't really grasping the concept. And so I have this term that I use for the receivers. And this is a game changer because I talked to this to other wide receiver coaches. So this is a little free nugget here for you guys that
good.
I use the term no blinker, right?
Yeah.
And so like I asked the guys, and I'll ask you guys, right? When you're driving, when you turn today to get and say we're at the field, I asked the guys, did you turn left or right, and did you use a blinker today? Right. And then I ask you guys, what do you say?
Yeah.
Yep. And I say, why'd you turn a blinker on? Why?
You had to let somebody know. We had to let them know where we're going.
Right. And so if we drove and we didn't use blinkers, what would happen?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. People on the road, there would be crashes. They wouldn't know where we're going. So
100%.
So what I do is like I walk towards them and I say now when you think I'm going to brake. So I'll walk, and then the first thing I'll do is like start stuttering my feet, and they'll say now. And I'm like, how'd you know? Oh, your feet started stuttering. Okay. So the first blinker is we stutter our feet. Second, I'll walk to them, and then I'll start sinking my hips, and they're like, now. Okay. What was it? Oh, your hips started sinking. So your second blinker is your hips are sinking. I'll back up, walk towards them again. I'll start to look down. They're like, now. And I'm like, what was it? Oh, your eyes went down. Right. And so there's 3 blinkers right there. And I'll back up, I'll walk again. And then I'll like pop up my chest, and they'll say, now. And I'm like, what was it? Oh, your chest popped up. So I said, there's 4 different blinkers I just gave you. And then I'll back up, I'll walk again. And then boom, I'll just step and cut. And they'll say, oh, now. And I'm already like 2 steps into my cut. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right?
That aha moment. Like,
it's like, and that goes back to body control. Can you run a route without, unless we have a double move, right? Unless it's something like that where you're giving something away. Can we run a route straight up without showing that the break is coming, right? Because, and I told the guys, imagine if you're on this side of the ball and you see me just running at you, and it looks like I'm just running a 9. And then all of a sudden, boom, I just break and I cut. Like, what's that going to look like to you? And they're just like, I'm just going to be way behind. Yeah, duh, exactly. Yeah. And so that's like, that's one of the biggest terms that I use. And that's like an easy way for me to get guys to get into that like aha moment is I just tell them no blinker and just run. And when you're ready to break, right, you just pick your foot up, boom, put it down, sink the hip with it, and then get in and out of your cut. Obviously, there's a lot of teaching that goes, into it, but the general picture is that right there.
That's a great one. The no blinker is great because I was thinking of receivers as playing poker, right? And you show your hand. If you show your hand, they're going to know where you're going, right? So that's such a great term to use and so easy to explain to any receiver that they understand the difference of how it all works. That's an amazing tip. I know Coach D wrote that down. Definitely.
Yeah. And then
got it.
That's amazing. Talk a little bit about recruiting. So and I don't know if you deal with players that have I'm sure you do coach kids that have transferred, and you obviously coach high school kids. Talk about some of the things that maybe your players might be experiencing recruiting that's changed maybe in the last couple of years.
So the transfer portal
crazy.
has been tough. I have guys that are and so it's like now to go JUCO, to go D2 is like, guys, go that route. Just go that route. Get better, get developed, more developed, and go. Luckily, for me, man, I hate to say it this way, but I'm developing these guys the right way. So I'm actually like able to pump these guys out. But then I have, then I have these guys that just aren't there yet. And so, the portal is like, I've talked to coaches, hey, where in the past it's been easy, where say, hey, look at this guy. I think in a couple of years, for you guys, he could be good, right? Let's just redshirt him, put him on scout team, let him get beat up a little bit. Yeah. Right. And it used to work. And I'm just like, sending guys to college, I was like 90% of my guys would go. And, it's dropped a little bit because now it's like, hey, coach, take a look at this. No, what do you got in the portal? And, now I deal with guys that are in the portal that are looking for homes. And, and these coaches are like, man, we're only going to offer, like, for example, this year, I won't say school or anything, but it's like, we're only going to offer, 3 2024s. The rest, we're going to go. We just want guys ready. And so recruiting has changed a lot because of the portal. Yeah. And it's tough, and I feel bad for the guys, but, I still tell them, it's like, JUCO, you can still get money there. And it's like nothing wrong with JUCO. Like, here in Utah, we have Snow College, and it's like, look at how many, how many NFL guys, look how many NFL guys came from Snow College, and it's like
sprinkled all over,
Yeah, and I tell guys, like, don't look down on these programs, because these are where the good coaches are at. It's like, no offense to D1 level, but those guys are coaching the thing.
Listen, they're not doing. You know what I mean? Like their GAs are doing all the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the young guys now, like, dude, they get so enamored with D3, Division 1, or this or that, and it's like, look, man, just go get developed, go get better, right? Trust the process, and if you're a good enough player, you'll get there, right? Like, we understand the numbers and all that stuff. Create a way to separate yourself. And you go this route, like, you write your own path, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and look, any opportunity is an opportunity you need to take, because there's not that many of them. So if somebody's offering you a JUCO spot or an FCS program or a Division 2, jump on that, because now it used to be like, all right, I take this, I'm going to be here for 4 years. It's the decision for the next 4 years. That's now changed. You never saw guys go from a lower level to a higher level. And now that's almost the trend, right? Like, I'm going to go to an FCS program. I'm going to do really well. And then before you know it, like my graduate year, I'm going to an I'm going to FBS. It's changed. So just trust it and go.
Yeah, and with sorry. Go
I'll give you hold your thought. I'll give you a business term that I think applies to football right now in college. Is the market takes time to catch up with innovation, right? So the innovation, like it or not, is the transfer portal and NIL. That's kind of the innovation, forced innovation, mind you, forced innovation. But that's quote unquote the innovation, right? So in business, somebody comes up with the iPhone, right? Well, at first, not everybody had the iPhone. It was like, wow, this thing's really cool. And then the market catch up, and now it's like almost everybody has an iPhone, right? Other companies who don't make iPhones make their phones like iPhones, right? So, because that became so the innovation is the transfer portal and NIL, which is just come in the last couple of years. But the market is all like, if you look at like the players as clients or customers or whatever, those players still think like it was 2 years ago, meaning the opportunity is going to be there for me if I just work harder, right? If I just do that. And yes, now the norm is you have to get with a guy like you to get. You have to get recruiting help. Not everybody understands yet, but the norm is this is what's expected. You're expected to figure out a way to navigate recruiting process, whether you hire someone to do it or you do it yourself. You're expected to work with someone that's going to get you to the highest level you could be at, whether you do it yourself or you work with somebody else. However you do it, that's what's expected. So whatever level you end up being at is expected to be the performance you give immediately. So if in the past maybe you were a Division I player and now maybe you fell at FCS as a high school kid, but the difference is at FCS, they're expecting you to produce now.
Yeah.
Because they kind of understand that if you don't, yes, you're going to be there for a while, but if you do, you get an immediate level of performance and you might be gone. They figure as soon as you get really good, you might be gone, right? So if they get guys that can come in and produce no matter what the level is, their team will do better. And that obviously starts from the highest level. But that has not yet caught up to recruiting, meaning the parents still think.
Don't get it.
I mean, I listen to the parents on like, if I just do this, why aren't they recruiting me? I'm like, you got to stop saying why. Like,
Right.
You're right.
Go through the process, do the best you can in that process, whatever your approach is, and what it ends up being, okay, if you haven't exhausted the right options, what it ends up being is what it is, and that's where you are right now, meaning
Correct.
high school, not transfer, but where you are right now. This is where you are right now. They tell you get a D2 scholarship, whatever that is, 50% of this, 50, but you get a D2 scholarship. That is, their coaches are telling you right now that's your level. Now, I'm not talking about your potential. I'm talking about this is what your level is now. And that's the hardest thing for people to change their mindset on. It's like,
they can't swallow that pill.
Yeah, we all were cultured that if I come in, I have potential to be X.
Yep.
They're going to develop me. And that is what has changed. And it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. What the expectation is, you're going to do all the things necessary. So when you get recruited, this is the level you're at. So if you were a guy that literally, I don't know, let's say you're a kid that plays high school and didn't train with you and didn't get help recruiting and just kind of played, right? And actually maybe has really great potential if he worked with somebody like you, right? But he didn't.
Just never took that next
step.
step.
Raw guy, unless you're 6'7", you're not getting recruited. You are not getting recruited. And you're going to may get recruited, but you're going to get recruited to a lower level. And you're going to have to go and perform there because that's the level you're at now. And that's the thing that I try to explain to people. And I'm, I don't know if you ever experienced this because you're in a different situation as the guy training them, but like people get mad. People get mad
pissed
when you're explaining to them how it works. Like this is not a hope thing.
Right. No, there's like an actual process. There's like steps that must be taken now, right? And look, working with a guy like yourself, coach, one-on-one used to be something that the best guys or it was extra, right? Like now, if you're not working with a one-on-one trainer, like, it used to be kind of like, hey, I work with a one-on-one trainer. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to separate me from, somebody. If you're not even the average, like you're down here now because everybody else is working with a one-on-one guy to achieve what they want to. Right. So that's what, if you're not doing it, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Definitely. Yeah. And, I have parents that, and so I have these talks with the guys and the parents, and it's hard for them, to accept, and like maybe your kid isn't here yet, and that's okay. That's okay. He can go here, and then he can get there.
Correct.
And so, I would say NIL's definitely been a huge game changer where guys know that if they can go get the training and they get better, that they can transfer and go somewhere else and get paid. And that's something that I've been doing with a few guys. And so some guys have left their schools, went to bigger schools, and have gotten some money. And so, the portal NIL have just been game changers for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's why you see like I think we were Coach and I were talking about yesterday. Like you're going to see a lot more college coaches leaving for the NFL because they just don't want to deal with that aspect of it.
Yeah, it's such a headache. I don't blame Nick Saban for leaving because it's like why would you develop a freshman, right, and then a sophomore, and then they just go and leave?
They're gone, right? I did all the work, and now this guy's going to reap benefits for somebody else. Like I get it. And also the need to win now, right? Like it used to be coaches got, 3, 4, maybe 5 years to turn a program around. If you haven't shown something in 2 years, well, you know what I mean? Like now you're out the door. You bring in a freshman. Well, yeah, by the time he's a sophomore, like that's 2, 3 with a red shirt year, maybe 3 years of development to get a guy going. I can just go grab a guy in the portal that has, 500 snaps at a Power 5 school somewhere else. Come to me, and now, bam, we're in and we're winning. And now it's, who wants to play that game?
Definitely. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to. And I have put the tweet out. Sorry,
Is that the baby there right there? I saw it. Hey!
Little baby girl here. This is my second girl here.
This is your second girl.
Yeah.
Hello. And hello to wifey back there. Hello.
Yeah, she's up early.
Hey,
Wife is going to get her hair done. So I got.
Oh, hell yeah. Listen, you go get your hair done. Like, you deserve that.
That's
so
all. That's
she'll be joining me here.
No, that's good. All good. Love it. Mine's freaking passed out. She's on nap number 2 already. Thank God.
Yeah. So, you can take yours. Okay. But yeah, like you said, I do have these conversations, and they are hard ones. And I put out a tweet, and I was like, I would not want to be a college coach. Like what I'm doing now is perfect. I don't have to deal with guys leaving. I don't have to deal with, I don't have to deal with other schools, right, trying to take my guys, and all that stuff. It's like it's the perfect situation that I'm in as a trainer. I don't know what the college coaching landscape is going to look like in the next years, because I see like up here in Utah, Coach Whittingham was like, we need like $7 million this offseason just to make some things happen. And to me, it's just crazy that's
the numbers getting thrown around.
Ohio State got $15 million to build an all-star team. So they were able to get
Dion was talking about, right? Like he said, somebody threw out a number like, 50 G's. And he goes, 50 G's? 50 G's doesn't even get you a PWO. Like that won't even get you a
QB. QB.
For NIL. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah. So it's crazy. And like BYU, they've taken like a unique stance on it. They're not even really doing NIL. I know they did. I think they did with Slovis, I think. But for everybody else, they're just kind of saying like, hey, you come here, we'll set you up, when you graduate, we'll take care of you. While you're here, we'll do things that, maybe, NIL, NIL could do, but, we'll do other things to help take care of you. And, they've been able to land some recruits, but it's like, you got to pay guys if you want to.
How long are you going to be able to sustain that model, right?
Right. If you want to win championships, it's like these days you got to pay guys. And to me as a former player, I could have made a lot of money coming out of high school. So I'm glad the guys are getting paid now. As somebody that trains these guys and sees the different personalities, it's killing college football. It is killing. I've seen some guys just like the biggest divas, the biggest egos. And I'm just like, dude, if you were here with some of these NFL guys, like on this field with some of the NFL guys I work with, you would not be acting like this. Like those guys in the NFL, like we used to think those guys were divas. Like now it's the opposite. It's like those guys, workers, these college guys are the divas. And I'm like, if you were out here with some of the NFL guys, they would give it to you straight, and
you wouldn't
like it. Yeah, you wouldn't like it at all. Yeah,
it's immaturity too. You're so immature. Like if you think back to when you were you were an All-American in high school, and you're one of the most mature. I remember, obviously you were one of the most mature guys of the high school guys that we work with. So, but you remember like, how do you know what to do with that money? Where do you put that money? What do you do with it? That's a hard thing as a high school kid or a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old, even guys in college, to really understand that.
Most freshmen, sophomores in college can't handle that amount of money. And we're not even talking about financial literacy. We're just talking about like, what do you do when you have $100 in your pocket as a college kid? You know what I mean?
Well, look at the musicians. Let's use something that's parallel to it, right? Like.
We've talked
musicians
about
who
that.
come up young, like musicians who hit it at 16 or 17 or 18. Like, look at the issues that so many of them have. I'm not saying they don't make a lot of money. They do. But are their lives in the end better for it, right? A lot of them go through a lot of crazy things for a decade just to realize, oh, my goodness, I'm really doing things the wrong way. Like, is that what the money's a great thing. I want the kids to be able to have the money, but money without any real guidance, and they might say they're starting to, and eventually maybe they'll get that all worked out and how they're going to help them with it. But right now that's not the case, and that's why you have divas. And then if Puka comes back and goes against one of your kids who thinks he's a good high school DB or something like that, like it would be a joke. Like they don't realize like I remember when I was an agent, and sometimes like the NFL guys are like when they're working with a trainer, like some of the high school kids are there, and I remember the kids would be like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, like that's a grown man right there.
Right.
That's
Right.
physically a grown man, and mentally, like he's not going to get worried if he drops a ball one time. Like he's going to fix it immediately the next time. He's gonna fix the route the next time. He's going to fix it. He's not even going to say a word. He's just going to fix it. Like he's not even going to tell you what he did. He's just going to fix it, right? and then you're left looking silly, and it's part of obviously it's all kind of plays into it all at the same time, which is why it's like a crazy storm, because 7-on-7 is so crazy, and all these things are all happening all at the same time, which makes like this perfect storm of activity. But it's wild. I mean, listen, it does make for football has become like a reality show in every sense of the word, like all the time, everywhere you go, like not just the NFL. But it's all a reality show, because when you put all these like different ingredients into the pot, you get like a crazy type of situation,
Yeah, I think I had seen two situations that stand out to me. One, there was a QB that I seen that he had transferred twice in one day. So he was out of school, he hit the portal the same day and ended up at another school in one day. And I'm just like, I remember like when I was playing, like transferring was a scary thing.
It was you like, didn't. That was not like an answer. That was like that was like something personal had come up, or and it wasn't like just something, not what these guys call personal issues today. It was like you lost a family member, or it was just something. As a guy that went through a situation like that, like the last thing on my mind was, I got to transfer. And now this is the first thing that gets on these guys' mind. And like you're talking about with not wanting to be a coach, like talking about having to, you know what I mean? Can you imagine having to control, a locker room where the guy next to you is making this, but I'm the starter, but because he gets, he's better as a social media marketer. He's making more money. Like, come on, man. Like, how about like, let's just line up and whoever is better is better. And it's not like that, it's very much of a me culture.
I'd hate to have to tell like a junior, right, that's been in your program, that knows the culture, that hey,
put the work in.
I have this freshman. We just paid him $1 million, but
so he's got to start.
He's got to play, and I would hate to be that coach. And then the other one that I seen, the dude that's like doing his 9th season, I'm like,
the dude, tight end from Miami, right?
Yeah,
he's on like year 9.
He had his injuries and whatnot, but it's like I remember guys weren't even trying to do 3 seasons. Like they're just trying to do 2 and be gone. Now it's like guys are coming back for 7th, and I'm like 9. That's wild to me.
I didn't even know that. 9.
Oh yeah. Because he had medicals, he used COVID, he used transfer. He's literally on his. It was like there are dudes in the NFL that are already on year like 4 or 5, and he was in their recruiting class, and he's still a senior.
He's a college veteran at this point.
He's older than half his coaches, guaranteed.
He just likes the college parties. That's what it is.
He also probably knows he ain't going to make any money in the NFL, and he's making more on an NIL deal. Like some of these guys are talking about, like, hey, my signing bonus, I made that in my first semester at, wherever. Like,
well, yeah, if you have to go in the work world, right? So let's say, I don't know, his first job, he was getting $50K or something. If he's getting $60K in NIL, well,
he's like, sure, can I get another medical? Like, what do I need?
I'll play again.
The guys, they still have to remember that they have to pay taxes on this NIL money. They got to remember.
And that's, coach, and that's what we're
talking not employees,
about, the financial literacy part of the whole thing. Like, or it's like,
it's a 1099.
It's like, hey, my uncle takes care of my money. It's like, does your uncle really take care of your money? Because where is your money, buddy? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's funny. Yeah. So the college game has changed, and I've watched it change like before my eyes, and I'm seeing it even when I train guys. I'm not going to throw any guys out there, under the bus, but I have guys now that I'm training that are like, yeah, Ross, I'm looking to leave after this season.
I just
need to tighten up on my routes and stuff. And I'm just like, that's what your thought is? Like, how about go win some games? How
Yeah.
about
Guys, it's almost now, coach, right? Like you could look at it and be like, look, would you rather go win a national championship, right? Or would you rather, win this individual award as the best whatever? And those guys, like, hey, would you rather score 2 touchdowns and lose the game, or would you rather not have any catches, right? Block your butt off the entire game, and then we win? What would you rather? I want the touchdowns. Like,
right.
you're like, man, you should have been a wrestler, or you should have run track, one of those individual sports, man, because
Right.
you're relying on 10 other dudes. And once I hear that from you as a teammate, old school type of like, bro, go, like,
Yeah.
go. Because
Yeah.
I could care less. Get in that transfer portal, buddy. Good luck.
Right. So
It's a different world.
Different world for sure.
Ross, tell everybody where they find you. It's not hard to find you, but tell everybody the best way to find you, and we'll let you go so you can spend some time with your baby.
Oh yeah, no. So they can
Being
go
a
to my
saint,
website.
by the way.
Yes, Saint.
Man, I got some little athletes on my hands. These girls are crazy.
Yes.
The girls
Yeah,
flag leagues, man, they're coming up. That might be my only chance to ever win a ring on anything is coaching girls. That's for sure. At least
awesome.
I know they'll listen.
That's awesome. Yeah, so guys can parents, players, they can reach out to me at rossapo.com. Fill out a questionnaire. It goes straight to my email, or they can go to Instagram. It's at MILE_WR_training. And then Twitter is at RossApoWR_easy. And you could just reach me through all 3 of those. And I get back to people. It just might take a little bit because I'm just like super overloaded with guys.
Hey man,
like
it's a great problem to have, coach.
Yeah, busy is a good problem, but like I said, with NIL and the transfer portal and all this stuff, and it's harder to get into college. Like I haven't been busier in my life, and then with the success of Puka and a lot with Puka and other guys, it's like guys here in Utah, they see like, oh, I can do it. Right,
of course.
A guy from Orem, right? If I said Orem to you guys are probably like, I never even heard of an Orem.
Nope, never.
And so it's like if a guy from Orem can do it, I'd love to give it a shot. And I think Utah has been coming up, and Coach, I tag you and stuff all the time.
Yep.
It's like I had freshmen that had like 10 plus offers.
The
MVP of your camp here, Jackson. I mean, he's one of the best in the state, and it's just like.
Stud.
Yeah, and it's like these I have a ton of 2026 guys that have a ton of offers. 4-star guys, I have 2027 guys.
Awesome.
I even have a 2028 guy, and so it's like
Utah, 7th grader.
yeah, and so coaches they're taking what I do more seriously, because
they understand it. And any type of information that they can get from somebody that they now respect, right, or has that background, like, hey, this guy literally trained the best receiver in the NFL as a rookie this year. Like, he must be doing something right. Let's talk to him. But not also that, like, who else does he have coming down the line that maybe I can hit onto? And we're not just talking like, college guys now. Now you're talking like NFL guys that are going to be looking to you to be like, hey, maybe come work this guy out. Or what do you think? Let me send you his film. Like, you've just opened up a lot of avenues for yourself, man. And as a guy that's been coaching receivers for a long time, like, to finally have a guy that, like, you're on the wavelength at that level, that's saying the things that, now we've been preaching for years and years, like, thank you.
It's all good. Like I said,
keep looking for those clicks, guys, because great, but like, you want to get here, this is what you got to do. Looking at me like I'm crazy, like, no, dude, that's great. All those cuts, get off the cones.
Yeah. So like anything I could do to send a message to the younger guys, like getting on here, because I know the reach you guys have, is like anything I can do to help those guys, anything I can do to help elevate the game, even if I'm not training the guys, is like that's a win for me. And so, anytime you guys have these shows and you need somebody that can talk wide receiver talk, let me know and I'll get on. There's no hesitation. I'd love to do this again with you guys. This was awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
I can sit and talk ball all day.
Oh yeah. Listen, you
honest,
got some other duties, right? I'm sure mine's gonna be screaming her head off in about 10 minutes.
I'll go put this baby to sleep and hop back on the call with you guys in 5 minutes.
No, we're good. We're good. Hey, man, you got your stuff to do. Appreciate you, Coach.
We'll let you go.
Of course.
Thanks so much, Ross. It's great having you on.
Thanks, bud.
See you soon.
Take care, man.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
see you guys.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Take care.
That was great. That was
awesome. Because you're talking about realistic stuff, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to hear it come out of a mouth of a guy who coached the best receiver in the league, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of solidifies it and like, hey, this is what's working right now. That's great that this guy did this, or you know what I mean? Like all this stuff. But come on, man. Like, if you really want to get to a level that you want to get to, this is how it's done, you know?
Absolutely. Can you name 2 other podcasters that could talk a full hour on receiver play? It was awesome. He was great. He first of all, I love how he broke down. Like, I mean, I wrote down
3 phases of the route.
Yeah, like he understands that, and then the stability part,
the body control stuff, the attacking the football stuff. You know what I mean? Like you and I, like, yeah, this is the stuff we talk about, the intricacies of it. But to hear it come, you know, who are we to
people looking like,
right?
You know, people look like at us a lot of times like we're crazy when we say these things.
Correct. Right? Because the majority of society thinks it's one way, and we're usually the outliers. And look, we don't like, you know, we're not about to be the people that are just like, well, it's our way or no way. Like, okay, we're going to tell you this, go learn for yourself. Right. And then you'll come back and be like, oh, well, you're right. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And the fact that, like, he goes into the training aspect, explaining why we do this, right? The explanation part of it is you're doing this because this is what happens. And, you know, I love just
and there's good. So like, it's one of the interesting things with coaching, right? There's good, there's very good, and there's elite, right?
Yes.
So there are guys that are good coaches.
Hey, we're not saying you're not a good
that
coach.
Don't understand the things that wrong. I'll tell you one of the luxuries. This is definitely a luxury for being an old guy who has been around. And honestly, one of the things about running those combines for all those years, I really was exposed to so many different coaching styles.
100%.
So many, like, to this day, and I've been around a long time. Like, when I see what Ross does, when I see what Jeff Christensen does, right, as QB coach, and we'll probably have, if we get him, I mean, he's so famous, obviously, because of Patrick Mahomes,
like,
right? So,
well, listen, it's a good thing we got Ross on now, because listen, just wait, right? Like, he starts producing. Like, think about how many people just like look at that and said, who did he work with? I want to work with him.
And there's an old podcast, so it's funny. Like, so I did Tony, right? Raciopio a couple years ago, maybe during COVID. I did Jeff Christensen, I think, in like 2018. Like, if you can, I'm telling, like 2017, 2018, I did a podcast. It wasn't video. I don't think it was a video one back then. I think I just did it like talking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Just audio.
Your audio, right? So, like, I did him, like, so. There's these guys along the way. I did Shane Stafford, who then eventually won. Who's obviously a friend of mine, but eventually won. They won like the arena championship like the year after. So I've kind of done a lot of these guys, but haven't been around. You see, like, wow, this guy's good. This guy's great, and this guy's like elite. Like, he gets certain things, you know.
It's like, you know, hey, this guy is better with these groups, or this guy is better with this. But it's just like we talked about it. Like, rarely do you have that 3-tool guy that can do every part of everything, right? Like, you know, this guy can do. Look, you're talking about a guy that trained the best receiver in the NFL, and he also trains 8th graders. Like, you're really not probably going to see that, right? Now, his market might change just based off what is coming at him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he may now have more of that upper level clientele, but just based off of talking to him for that small, I bet you he still does middle school, because that's the gist of what he loves to do.
I'll tell you what's phenomenal too. It's amazing. So, like, I'll bring these names. You don't even know who these guys are, because a lot of them don't even really coach anymore. But, like, along the years, I used to have this D-line coach, Quincy Hips, who played at Miami. Okay. and he was tough. Like he was from that area,
Right.
and he was tough, but he was an amazing D-line coach. Amazing. Like if you, any guy that ever went to our camps from that era, and like what's I we had we still have, luckily we still have Tom Riss that works with us, like still works our
Great.
camps, but he really doesn't, like, because he's getting old, he doesn't do all that stuff as
Yeah,
much.
plus his like main job, you know what I'm saying? He's administrator.
Right, he's a minister. But we had this guy James Feely, okay, who coached at Keene, coached at Keene, okay, who was just a phenomenal teacher of the offensive line. But now he's like director of like I think the EPA or something. You
Right.
know,
Well, because coaching back then was a
there
hobby.
was no.
There was
Yes.
no career path. We talk about this all the time. Now, look, it's a reason a lot of these
It
older
was
school coaches are getting
phenomenal.
out of it because, I mean, and
People always ask me what happened to James Feely.
but the other
James
part of
Feely's
it too,
like
right,
an executive,
is
like
the hard part is like, here you like it's not, the guys never leave coaching because of the coaching. They leave because all of the other stuff outside of working with my players,
unless you
X's
want to
and
go to
O's.
college and live that life, it was difficult, right? And but yeah, he was phenomenal. The greatest DB coach who taught a lot of the guys who now coach DB all over the country, okay, was this guy Barry Harris. We had this guy Barry Harris who was from Englewood, and he used to coach at Paramus Catholic. He was a coach. He was the head coach at Englewood when I was at Powell Park, and he had the two Winfrey and Wingate, like those were his guys, right? But he wasn't around that long.
Twin Towers,
dude. But he could coach DB, dude. Like his DB drills, he used to always say, he said, "Don't put the camera on me. I don't want to give away my secrets." He used to always say that, like, "Don't put the camera on me." Now, Coach Harris is he's probably 6 or 7 years older than me. Coach Drakeford, who's still with us, right? Running backs, like as good as they come.
Yep.
Like unheralded guys who I've seen teach it, and it's just like it's so phenomenal. Like I wish I could bottle them. What's great is that like guys like Ross and Jeff Christensen, who obviously was an NFL QB, they've been able to make a good enough business out of it, which is great because now they can reach more people. But it's amazing when you see guys that are great and how they speak about it and their thought process behind it. And it's about where are you going to go. Like people could do all they want for clicks, and then it's like, see that this guy, he has Puka Nacua, and he developed him. Not just was he obviously was, and he talked about it. It wasn't like he had no skills.
Here's the other thing too. Like, I think that was a key part, right? Like I think that was a very key part that he talked about. Like, and it's probably the most underrated part of receiver play that nobody ever talks about is attacking the football, right? And because you can look in high school, right? Obviously, we know the higher level things tighten up more and more. But the biggest thing in high school football, man, is look, because you might not have that best quarterback that's going to throw that ball, that's even going to throw you a spiral. But if you're at least coming back and attacking it, dude, like now you're on a different level. Like, and if you have that, and how many times do I talk? Like, you can look at a guy and like you can literally see, like, oh my God, but he has this. He has one thing, right? And you can now work off of that and develop it. And I just think that's one of the most underrated things. And he's talking about that guy had that from the jump, and he knew, look, he's got that. I know I can build on the rest of this stuff. Like, yeah, he's going through puberty, so that's why he's goofy and he's all over the place and his body control is whatever. But once we tighten all that up, right, now he's got this that's huge. And I love it that he was like, well, he's going to separate because right now he's hurt and you're still going to take him, right? Because had he not been hurt, run a better 40 time, maybe he's not a 5th round pick. And now he's a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick. Or maybe he goes to a different situation where it's not a Sean McVay who throws the ball more than others, right? Or not Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Maybe he goes to, so everything happens for a reason, fellas. Like, understand, trust the process, and kind of go to it, right? And look, take a lower level offer, a JUCO, and do that. You're hearing that from a guy who was a big time player in himself, right? Like all
he was I could be wrong, but I believe he played in the U.S. Army game, All-American game. I'm almost certain. I'm almost certain he did. Like he and by the way, see how humble.
And for people that don't know, like that is the
crown
jewel,
especially the older days. That was
the. It was on NBC, sponsored by Army. I mean, guys would make their commitments, and you're talking the Adrian Petersons of the world, right? Like these guys were all in this thing, I just love that it's like, wow, there's an advocate for guys like us. Like, thank you, buddy, appreciate you. Like we
get them one by one. We get them one by one on here.
And now when guys are like, "Oh, coach, you're just jealous because this guy's got this, or I'm training with this guy," and it's like, "All right, dude, keep training with that guy. I love all your hand movement and stuff. You could be a cheerleader with your pom poms, like like here we go, buddy. But like, how about like let's get vertical because while you're doing all this, the quarterback has, he's already on his back. So like." Get to your slant, dude.
It's funny because I remember even back when I went, when I was working out for the NFL scouts and I went to a couple of these pro things, like, I ended up getting like offered a CFL thing in an arena. I didn't get an NFL contract, but I remember going to these things. And my favorite thing, this is when I was a linebacker. My favorite thing in 101s, and I had to go against tight ends.
Oh, the worst.
I had to go against tight ends, but my favorite thing was when they would try to make a move, because like all these moves, because I would just wait and then I would just jam them. So I would jam the F out of them, and that would be the end. And the guy, I remember, you do that. The guy, I see the guy right. I remember check mark. I was prorated because not just I tested really good, but not just because I tested good, because in the drills in the 101, I remember like every time. I don't think a tight end caught a ball on me there. And it was because they would try to. This is back in the 90s, right? These guys. This is why those guys weren't quite good enough, and obviously I wasn't perceived as good enough to go to the NFL, but I was right on the borderline. Those guys weren't good enough because they would make too many moves, right? And I would just jam that what out of them.
You try and do too much. And this is the other part too that a lot of people don't understand. Like, okay, like from a trainer's perspective, like, all right, you guys just paid for an hour. I got to fill up an hour. Like, it don't take an hour, bro, to teach you about receiver play. I mean, we just talked about it for an hour, but that's because we can talk more than anybody else. Like, but like, I was just saying, like, this is, like, here you are, like, trainers need to start coming up with stuff to do.
Right.
Because when the gist of it comes to it, man, like, I can say everything I need to say in this amount of words. And if you do it right, we don't got to be out here going crazy. Like, more of it is the mental side of it, about having a plan, right? If he does this, I do this. It's the physical stuff comes with that, and creating that muscle memory by doing those things over and over and over. And the other part I love is that everything he does, he talks about, look, this is for when things don't go right. And that's the entire game, right? Like I said, you don't just draw the line and this is the route. It's this stuff. And that's what he focuses on so much is, yes, we teach the fundamentals. So at the end of the day, that's what you resort to. But I also want to get you comfortable in these uncomfortable situations. So when they do happen, because they're going to happen, you're prepared. It's not and now you're done.
And you made a really important point. Okay, you don't need all this time to run 9,000 routes. Okay, and here's why I explain this.
That's your training aspect of it, right? That's your strength and conditioning stuff.
That's correct.
That's your
actual skill base. It's like
your receiver stuff is minimal.
I relate it to like if you run track, okay, your warm up may take longer than your actual workout because
Right.
if you're a sprinter, you're going to run, I don't know, 6 intervals or 8 intervals, but they want it to be at a certain level. They want it to be at a high level.
Quality, not quantity. Quality,
Correct.
not quantity. It's the same thing. Look,
And there's a difference between a quality day and a quantity day.
100%. And now that's also load management, right? And
Right.
and it relates. Listen, this correlates to football in every facet because football is the only sport where you're practicing way more than you're playing, brother.
Right.
You're practicing 4 days a week for one game. And that's what this is all about, dude. Like, you got to work. And then, all right, maybe we'll run each route a couple times, right? With this going on or that going on. Majority of this stuff is put the work in, brother. And then it makes it easier when you see it and do whatever. And a lot of the other stuff, like, receiver play, how many targets you really going to get a game? Look at how many plays are running a game. Look at how much, you know what I mean? And then how many groupings are you going to be in? Now, if you're an every down wide receiver, which is very rare nowadays, right? Like, okay, but are they throwing the ball on all those sets? You know what I'm saying? You need to do everything within the receiver world to make yourself that guy and be a pivotal point of the offense. And even if you are, you still may only have 3 catches. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
exactly
so
right.
Understand the position you want to play. That, because of the world we're living in, looks great catching touchdowns and burning DBs and one-on-ones in shorts and a t-shirt. But
think about it in high school. If you actually averaged 4 catches a game in high school.
Oh my God, you're a stud.
That's 36 catches, 10 games, 40 catches.
That's probably around.
That's a lot. That's going to be one of the most.
Obviously, with the way offenses have developed in the last couple of years, people chucking it all around.
Other than
like
Butler, where your receiver has 120.
Right. Like, but come on. Like, if you're somewhere between 40 or 50, 60, somewhere.
That's a lot.
Like, dude, like,
that's only 4 touches a game.
Right. Like, guys, understand, sorry, bro. Go play defense where you get 3 downs every time and you get to make a tackle. That's why I'm only going to say it once. Because I don't want, we're good. Like, but just understand, like, that's where it's at, fellas. Like, that's the position you're choosing,
No doubt. Well, let's wrap it up here. That was a really
he's the man. Again, that's awesome. I can't wait to have even more conversations with him now and open up the floodgates now because he's in trouble.
Yeah, he's I think you'll enjoy talking with him. I'm
gonna set up a play date in Utah.
Yes, right. He's got daughters.
Let's go.
What
are the taxes like in Utah? I think I'm good. Get a couple.
I think they're good.
Become a snowboard again. I think. Have you been
to Utah?
Dude, when I was at Bosco, we went out there and played. Yeah. We played Alta.
Beautiful place.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful place. All right, let's jump off. Great podcast.